Thank you for joining us on the Winning at Selling podcast. I'm Professor Scott Plum of the Minnesota Sales Institute, and with me is Bill Hellkamp of Reach Development Systems.
Have you ever slammed down the phone after speaking with an unreasonable customer and wished you could be rid of them forever? Perhaps you can. Not every customer is of value to your company, and you might want to consider firing them. So let's reflect on our worst customers as Scott and I discuss, should I fire my client, and other great ideas on episode 514 of the Winning at Selling podcast.
Going to be a great topic. This is going to kind of redo some of my therapy because I've been trying to get those out of my mind, and now we're going to talk about them again. So right. I might have to go back in the Wayback Time machine to be able to come up with those. But we're going to have a book club, and then we're going to get into the topic.
All right.
The book club is brought to you by BusyWeb, a growth, marketing, and sales enablement agency.
This is Dave Meyer with BusyWeb, proud supporter of the Winning at Selling podcast. BusyWeb is a growth marketing and sales enablement agency in Minneapolis. Each week, I'm bringing you buzz tips customized for sales pros to help you land more deals. If you need help driving leads to your biz, check us out at busyweb.com. That's BIZZYWEB. This week's tip, know your buyer's journey. Every buyer of a product or service goes through a series of distinct steps when choosing a solution. The 3 stages that sales needs to be prepared for are awareness, consideration, and decision. In awareness, the buyer realizes they have a problem. In consideration, the buyer defines that problem and researches options to solve it. And in decision, the buyer chooses a solution. Make sure your website and sales scripts have answers for each stage to close more deals. Click on the sponsor icon at winningatselling.com for a handy guide to getting more leads, or go to busyweb.com, that's BIZZYWEB.com, for tools to start engaging your prospective buyers. Or give us a call at 612-4BUSY-O. That's 612-424-9990 to chat.
So our book, The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. We're going to be covering principles 44 through 47. I want to
quit reading. I want to quit reading this book, Scott.
Really? Why?
Yeah, because it's making me guilty. Feel very guilty. And
it's so good.
Too much. It's terrific. It's terrifically mean to me because we're just going through things. Have you ever gone through a list of I used to do this?
Right. Yes.
And I should do this again.
Right.
I'll talk about that a little bit, but man, this is a good section here. Build your team.
It's really in our wheelhouse. It's what we do. It's what we do best. And that's why we're related so well to it, is because I know I should be doing a better job at it. But I think about the elements that he's talking about here. And I share this when I start a class. I said, some of the stuff I'm going to share with you is new. Some of it is going to be stuff that you knew about and you go, that ain't going to work. Or it's going to be stuff that I shared with you and you go, why did I ever stop doing that?
Well, that's the one. That's right. I got lazy. I saw a speaker once who said, so many of us are just so busy. And as he said busy, he wrote lazy, which if you've ever tried to do that is very difficult. And I thought he is absolutely right. I am not as busy as I am lazy.
Well, I think one of his other books, The Power of Focus, I think, Jack Canfield talks about that, really being focused on one thing at a time. And so often we're distracted. We're trying to do multitasking and we do it constantly. And we've always been told we're not effective at it. We always have typos in our emails when we're trying to do something and listen to something else. And it's just very unproductive, but that's it for another session.
All right, let's go through these.
44.
There you go.
The title on my copy is Create a Network of Mentors and Others Who Will Up-Level You.
Well, that's too long of a title. Yeah. Mine is Find a Wing to Climb Under.
And I think that was the first version. And people are kind of scratching their head going, what are we talking about here? But it's really getting a mentor. And I really believe mentors are so important. I'm very, very grateful about the mentors that I've had in my life. Unfortunately, the older I get, the older they get. And I've lost 3 out of my 5 mentors. And it really leaves a hole when they're gone and I can't talk to them anymore. And I can't ask them any questions. And one of the things that this chapter really brought out is when you're dealing with a mentor, you got to really be prepared to ask specific advice. And that's one thing that a mentor is really good at, because it's a human trait for us to want to pass on what we know. And when we get to a certain point, and it's usually the legacy phase of our life, which is after 50, is we really want to be able to share some of the lessons learned that we have in life and share them with other people. I want to add just one more point, Bill. I want to get your insight on it. Les Brown. I love Les Brown. Oh, I mean, when he speaks, he says it's real simple. Make a point, tell a story. Make a point, tell a story. Make a point, tell a story. 3 points, 3 stories, you're done. That's your presentation. And he talks about a mentor is to help you see the possibilities, help you overcome the possibility blindness. And we do that. We get stuck in our own world and we don't see the possibilities like somebody else sees it.
Yeah, I think I've read a lot on mentorship through John Maxwell, and one of his mentors was John Wooden, the famous basketball coach of the, I think, UCLA Bruins. And oh my gosh, if you can have a mentor like that, that's amazing. He said he would go into those meetings with him with 3 pages of questions.
Wow.
And just be ready to ask him questions. And I think that's the respect that we have to show the mentor. One of the things, if you do find somebody that's willing to mentor you, first of all, Scott and I are having a harder time finding someone older than us to mentor us. So that's not helpful. But find somebody who's been through the wars that you want to fight, that has the kind of success you want to have. And it may not be specifically in your business. It can be in the way their families were raised or in their whole outlook on life. You can get a mentor in that area. But be ready and show them the respect by having questions. Don't just go into a meeting with a mentor or a coach and say, okay, you tell me everything I need to know.
Right.
And then the second thing, and the real respectful thing, is be willing to do and act on the advice they give you. Don't go to your next meeting with your mentor and go, well, I didn't really have time to do that thing you suggested, or I was kind of afraid. And now you're not showing any respect. So if you are lucky enough to find a good mentor, someone who will usually give you their time for a cup of coffee, that's the price of admission usually for a mentor. And then have the respect to be ready to talk to them and do what they suggest.
One last point that I want to cover in this chapter, and I really love this statement: credibility grows when appointments are kept, promises are acted upon, facts are verified, and services are rendered.
Yep.
And so profound, so simple, so basic. And then one last thing, networking is more about farming than about hunting. And when you're in a networking situation, really work on farming versus hunting.
All right, good. Can I enter principle 45?
Sure.
Hire a personal coach. And this is what Scott and I do. So I think of the mentor as looking at the big picture, but your personal coach is your week-to-week, day-to-day guidance, right? And that's the things you can't see for yourselves, kind of what Les Brown talked about, that possibility blindness. Well, I see coaches as more the activity blindness. The things you are doing or that you're not doing, that the things you're not doing that you should be doing, or the things you are doing that you shouldn't be doing, and adjusting those things. Every good sportsman, every good sports personality has a coach that is continuing to help them see things where they could improve. And I just think hiring a personal coach is a very valuable thing to do. Both Scott and I do it for others, and we've seen that growth in other people through coaching.
I've seen where coaches give away all the information. They give it to everybody. The same session versus paid coaching would be the same session that it would be free advice. But you know what? People don't take the advice. They don't apply the lessons. And they need somebody to work with them, and I use that term intentionally, to create that accountability partnership where hold salespeople accountable to applying what they learn. If they don't learn and they don't apply, they're not going to get any results. But if they learn and don't apply, the same thing happens, no results. And it's so often that salespeople know, but they don't do. And I heard a great line. I heard a great line a couple weeks ago, and it says, if there's no consequences when you fail and there's no reward when you succeed, there's no reason to change.
That's right. Well, I think it's absolutely true. And you and I have done training long enough, 30 to 40 years, that we've both changed our training process to include follow-up, to include something that says you need to be accountable for trying something new to see if it works. Because if we go through these weeks or days or hours of training, and you don't do anything different as a result of it, it's wasted. You could even look at this book, Scott, as a personal coach.
Exactly.
Take each thing that we're talking about, and are you taking any notes? Are you being convicted by it all? Or are you going through it week by week and going, oh, well, that was an interesting idea. I'll keep doing things the same way.
Right.
Oh, that was an interesting idea. So I think that's very important to change what you're doing.
So in this area, here's a question to ask yourself every single day is, what am I going to do different today that I didn't do yesterday that's going to give me the results that I want that I currently don't have? There's the answer. Is whatever your answer is to that question is going to be able to provide a step of growth and a step of change. But we have to be able to be comfortable with change.
Right.
Number 46, mastermind your way to success. And every time I see this word mastermind, I always think about the source, Think and Grow Rich.
Right.
Napoleon Hill talks about this. It's one of the principles in Think and Grow Rich. If you have not read that book, I highly encourage you to read that book. It changed my life, and I apply as much as I can possibly retain in that book every single day. And I need to reread it in order to retain it. But masterminding is one of the most powerful tools for success presented in this book. This book, Success Principles, is masterminding, the most powerful tool. I mean, here it is. This is what it all boils down to. And a mastermind is a group that meets usually about 6 to 8 people for 60 to 90 minutes every week. And they talk about personal and professional issues. And they create that accountability partner type of group where you share some of the lessons that you've learned with other people, and they share what they've learned with you. And it's really an efficient use of time.
Right. And you get different viewpoints on what you're doing. And before the show, you and I were talking a little bit about clients and how we can find creative solutions for them. But it's very hard for us to visually see where we could improve or be creative with ourselves. And just getting together with a group of other professional people who are sharp and with it, they're going to see your issues, your problems, your victories in a totally different way and help you come up with great creative ideas. I was in a mastermind group many years ago, and I don't know why it ended. Great people I was with. I've got to create one again. This is my value I'm going to get from this section is I'm going to create a mastermind group of 5 or 6 people that I want to get together with and just share ideas and talk about business. So
yeah, it's so true. I was talking with one of my mentors who is kind of out of the game right now. And I asked him one time how do you inspire the inspirer? And we're both sales trainers and speakers, and we work on inspiring and motivating and encouraging salespeople to apply different techniques to get better results. And I said to him, I go, how do you inspire the inspirer? And this was a 20, 30-minute conversation about how do we as trainers, how do we find somebody to up-level us so that we are able passing on information. And it's just, and it's that legacy stage that people have is that they want to share information. And I really, there's some great theme between these 3 chapters. And then the last one on principle number 47 is Inquire Within. And I just love how this chapter opened up with, let's give all the people, all the secrets that they need to know. But where will we bury it? Will we bury it at the top of mountain? No, they'll find it. Where deepest sea? No, they'll find it. And then they go, well, we'll just bury it within them. They'll never look there. It's like, that's so true. All the answers are within us. And I really believe that these are our God-given gifts. Yeah. And when we apply our God-given gifts, we never get tired. We always feel like we have a life with purpose and meaning and joy. We get joy when we apply our gifts. We become happy when we work at applying our skills. And so often we get our gifts and our skills confused. And so often we try to chase possibilities when we miss opportunities. And look at the opportunities that you have in your life to apply your God-given gifts, and you will be joyful.
Yeah, it says trust your intuition, right? And your gut. And if something feels wrong to you, it's probably wrong. I can remember a situation a number of years ago. I was working for a company and I didn't feel things were going right. And I just knew I was going to get fired. And I tried to deal with it, but I got fired and I deserved it. It's fine. It's a lesson learned. But I knew it was going to happen. There were all kinds of little things that showed me that was going to happen. And I've had the same thing happen with clients when it wasn't going well. It just wasn't feeling right.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really put your finger on it, but you just know it's not going right. So your experience and your intuition can tell you a lot of things. If you're starting to get that icky feeling, start looking for the reasons or what the next step you're going to take, because there's something happening there that you should get a better understanding about. And that's that Inquire Within.
This was something that I wish we would have included in the last episode of Advice Not Given, is really trusting your intuition. And trusting your intuition, and this is out of the book, is simply another form of trusting yourself. I read a great book many, many years ago. I think it's called Yes, No, Guide to Making Better Decisions. I think Spencer Johnson is one of the authors on it. And in there, they said, if it starts out bad, it's not going to get any better. Chances are it's not going to improve. If it starts out bad, it's probably not going to work out. It's probably not going to get better. So you need to change something in order to get a better result. And in this chapter, in this book, there was 4 outcomes: yes, no, go for it, or not yet. And I think if some of the choices that we have in our life, think about it. Yes, I'm going to do this, or no, I'm not going to do this, or I'm going to go for it and make it work and overcome all the adversity and all the distractions that I'm going to have along the way. Or I'm just going to say, not yet. I'm not ready yet. It's on my list. I'm just not prepared to do it right now.
Yeah. And this trust your intuition. And if it starts poorly, I think is a precursor to what we're going to talk about in the other section of the show about firing my client. And that is, should I fire my client, right? What does your intuition tell you about that? Can be brought into that as well. So great topics, great sections here. This book should be read. If you're not with us, pick it up. You can catch up. It's a great book. So our next topic is, should I fire my client? And this segment is brought to you by A.J. Imholt, a financial advisor dedicated to salespeople.
As a salesperson, you have enough to deal with. Prospects hang up on you, clients skip meetings, slow responses to your emails. It's enough to drive you bonkers. Fortunately, you can take control of your financial future. Your time is at a premium, and you want to focus on finding new clients and growing the customers you already have. So it's best to work with someone who takes the time to build an understanding of what you have on your plate. I'm AJ Imholt of Fortune Financial, and this is where I come in. As a financial advisor dedicated to salespeople, my goal is to help manage your portfolio so you can focus on what matters. Then, I'll take care of the boring details while you go out and crush your numbers. You can schedule a time to chat with me using the bookings link in the show notes. Good luck out there, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
A.J. Imholt is a registered representative and investment advisor representative of Security Financial Services, Inc. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Security Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. North Star Resource Group is independently owned and operated. Fortune Financial is affiliated with North Star Resource Group and is independently owned and operated.
We got a great topic here, Scott. Should I fire my client? And I know you've dealt with this before, but not every client is a net plus value. They're not always making you money. Some of the simplest cases, they're just not worth the level of service they either require or they demand. And then in more adamant cases, they can be just such aggravating pains in the butt to the sales and delivery team that no matter what the volume, you're losing too many people as a result of this customer's demand. So let me tell you a story that happened to me when I was working with a client. They sold delivery products for microchips, and they sold them a lot in Southeast Asia. They had a young kid who had just started in the Southeast Asia as their salesperson, and they had one particular customer who just beat him up mercifully. The product was no good. The price was too high. Your delivery is too slow. It didn't matter what he did, he got beat up. So the president was talking to me about it, and I said, well, are you making money on this client? He said, no, not really. I said, are they going to grow substantially from where they are? He said, not really. I said, fire them. Take all their documentation, take your next trip to the Far East, and tell them they're no longer your client. He said, I can do that? I said, oh yeah. I said, you'd much rather have this person be your competitor's client. So he took the stuff with him to the next thing. He talked to a salesperson who was relieved at the idea he wasn't going to have to deal with them. They sat down with the customer. They handed them all their paperwork and said, we're going to give you the opportunity to find another supplier because we're too slow. We're no good. Our product's not good. And our prices are too high. And the guy looked at him. He said, you can't do that to me. He said, I need you. He said, what do you mean? Our prices are too high. Our product's too bad. He goes, no, your product's fine. And he backed out of everything he said. And the president said, all right, if you want us to continue to supply you, here's the rules. And he laid down the rules about how he was going to treat his salesperson. He said, if you break these rules, we're going to let you go. And the person sat up and towed the line after that. So I think sometimes we listen to these clients and we think they have all the power, and they don't always have the power. So anyway, Scott, have you ever had to fire a client or recommend that it be done?
I've had some clients where once the project is terminated, I don't work on selling any more future services with them. and I had one client where I kept coming back 3 times. Every time they called me, I'd always come back. And then when the 3rd time was done, I go, I'm not taking any more business. And I did it to myself. And how I did it to myself is I needed the business. At one time, I gave them a special rate. I called it a pilot program, and I never held to that precedent as a pilot program. And then getting into the real market rate on what they really required for the amount of time and energy that they wanted from me in exchange for the dollars that they were going to give me. And it just wasn't worth it for me anymore. And I just didn't want to work with them anymore. But I love the idea of working with somebody and they keep insulting you, and you just have to turn around and say, perhaps you should find a better solution.
Right.
I'm done. And here's your stuff back, and good luck. And they realize how valuable you are because now they have to go out and try to find somebody else. Right. But sometimes we do it to ourselves when we start the relationship. What kind of precedent are we setting? I think
when we beg for the business, right? When we beg for the business, then they give it to us. Now we're begging the whole rest of the time. So a friend of mine calls that posture, and I've done some writing on the posture we take in a client relationship. So let's talk about some of the situations where it may make sense to fire a client, right?
Yeah.
And we've alluded to a couple of these. The first one is size versus service. So one of the things I recommend that my clients all do is to rank their clientele in an A, B, C, D fashion. And that can have a variety of different factors. It can be revenue is obviously one of those, potential, ease of working with, do we like working with them? Are they friendly to us? All these different things can raise you up or lower you down in that ranking. But you shouldn't have 500 A customers and, 500 D customers and nobody in the middle. You have to rank them, and sometimes you have to make a hard decision. But you're not ranking them to say, I don't want you anymore. But you're ranking them to say, based on what we know and the level of service that we can give you at certain price points, we're going to put you into these categories. And we don't tell the customer, oh, you're a B customer. But we can say, look, I just can't afford the level of service you're asking me for. You want great service, and then every time, we want you to do business with us, you shop us for the lowest price. So if you want the lowest price all the time, you're just not going to get the level of service that somebody might get who just chooses us all the time and has a great partnership. So the other thing is a D-level client might be somebody who's really small. They have no potential for growth. They haven't grown in the past few years, and they probably won't. The decision rests on, are they looking for a lot more service than they deserve? So it's really that service versus size equation, and that makes it affordable, right? If and as you said, it wasn't worth it to me.
Yeah.
We have a lot of clients sometimes we've grown bigger than our clients. And it's just not worth it for us to have them. They may be good friends and they're very nice, and we may make the decision to say, okay, I'll work with them, but I'm not going to give them the highest level of service. You've got to think it through, though. And again, it's not a reason to get rid of them. Sometimes it's just not worth it. And you've got too many of these small clients, and they're keeping you from doing the things you need to do with your better clients. So
Yeah, good advice. I think about the airline industry and how there's cheap rates on airline industries, and we go and we chase those cheap rates, and then we're disappointed with the amount of service and attention we get as a passenger. And I go, well, what are you doing? You got a $25 ticket, and of course they're going to nickel and dime you on all of the other, and then they might even cancel the flight. So now what's it worth to you?
That's right.
Now, how much would you pay to get out of the situation now?
Yeah, they canceled the flight because they didn't have enough people on board because they were a crappy airline.
Right. They don't care because people buy on price.
That's right. That's right. Well, and the people who do buy on price, then they get the service level that they deserve. So, all right. The second thing to look at is, are they a good fit, right? A poor fit, a good fit. What I always say to clients or to my customers who are looking to sell better is quit selling to people who don't value what you value. If you are in a conversation and all they can talk, and you sell quality and fine services and extra benefits, and the person, as you alluded to, asks for nothing but price concessions, you might want to look at them and say, you know what? It seems to me the most important thing to you is price. And we work with clients who want quality service and quality product. And so maybe we're not a good fit with each other. And this will really call them out to say, oh, no, we want all the services. We just want the cheapest price. And you can't have that. So is this going to be a good fit? Or are we walking into a situation where we're going to be mad at each other all the time because what we like and what we value is not what you value? And so we're going to fight all the time because we have different value systems.
Yeah, this is going to go back to the 7 habits of highly effective people. This is a lose-lose. Is people buy on price and not value. And often you'll see customers come to the salesperson and say, hey, can you match this price? And too often it happens where the salespeople say, sure, we'll match that price.
That's right.
Well, and I always say, well, if that's a lower price, why didn't you buy from them? Well, they didn't do this, this, and this. Oh, so you find that valuable, huh? Yeah. And, we do that. Yeah. That's why I'm asking you to match this price, but I want these services. It's just not the way it works.
That's right.
We sell value. We don't sell on price. And if you value what we're selling, it's worth, paying the price for the value.
Well, that's right. There's other things that come into play. And if you want those things, then it costs more to do those. Those things don't come to us free. They don't come to you free. And so this is something you have to determine. And I was just talking with a potential client yesterday who said, we find ourselves often selling on price, even though we're the premier supplier. And I said, that's certainly a problem because you can't remain the premier supplier and be the lowest cost provider at the same time. So excellent. All right. The number 3 one, unreasonable demands. So sometimes you can have a client of any size, like the story that I told you, who just makes unreasonable demands on the organization. They're always pushing you for lower prices. They're always pushing you for better terms. They're always pushing you for the quickest response time. And then they want the cheapest price on everything. Maybe they're just mean.
Yeah.
I've run into this. Haven't you, Scott?
I have.
There's some people out there that they're just mean all the way to the bone. And they think the way to do business is to be abusive. And I don't think that as a supplier, I can afford to subject my team to that kind of abuse, right?
Right.
And another thing is they always want the product to be specialized. Okay. I make these screws in green. Well, I'd like them in blue, but I want to pay the same price for them. Well, we have to change our whole production line to make them blue. So that's going to cost you. And here's what it's going to cost you for that favor. Don't do those kind of favors for free. This is what Scott said. He started doing some things at a low price and then he couldn't get out of them. If a customer wants a favor, if they want something special and they're not your hugest customer and you're not going to do it all the time, then they're going to have to pay for that new thing, that new color, that new feature, that new box that they want on the outside. Whatever that is, that doesn't come free. And your competition's not going to give it to them free. And if they do, they're going to lose money and they're going to go out of business. So those are the 3 that I have: size versus service, poor fit for your organization, and unreasonable demands. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think those are great. And usually, in the last one, you think about what do you want? Price, selection, service. Pick 2. And it'd be great if you can find all 3, but it usually doesn't happen in that situation. And, we have to stick to our guns. And us as salespeople and also as consumers, when we see a business that's difficult to work with and they're just mean, we know that it's just a matter of time before they go out of business because they're fighting a battle that you have no understanding of what they're going through right now. And everybody's fighting a battle somewhere in their mind, in their world that you know nothing about. And they're projecting that out onto the salespeople that they work with. I've worked with some great companies that have paid generously, that have supported, endorsed, recommended testimonials. I would do anything for them. If they came back to me and said, Scott, we're broke, can you help us? Absolutely. I'll be happy to do that, because that's the type of people that they are. And it's just a matter of time before they get back on their feet and they start, paying you and being just as generous as they were, because that's who they are.
Yeah.
Generally, people will share with you who they are by their actions.
And the reality of life is that's 98% of customers, 98% of the people you're going to work with. The unreasonable ones are the 2% that you talk about all the time that aggravate you so much. So let's just talk before we finish up today on some of the benefits you get from firing an unworkable client. All right.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to save time and money. If the client isn't making you money, then the time that you can save by getting rid of them can be put into more profitable or new potential clients. All of us have a bandwidth. We have so many clients that we can work with as an organization unless we expand our bandwidth, unless we hire new people. We just can't. I know a lot of us are coming out of this COVID deal and we're being asked to do a lot more work as business is heating up. But at some point, we just can't do anymore. I can remember a woman that I worked with in advertising, and my boss kept giving her more and more work. And finally she said, no, I can't do anymore. Why do you keep putting all this work on me? He goes, well, you never told me no before. And so, whereas I told him no real early, and then I didn't get all the work. See, so it's just the personality. But anyway, you only have so much bandwidth. Get rid of somebody that's not making you money and put in somebody who is, and be nice about it. Find them another alternative, but it just can't be you. The second advantage, more satisfied employees. People who don't have to deal with mean people get happier all of a sudden. And people who don't have to deal with unreasonable situations are more satisfied in their work. So that's another great idea. I think I mentioned this, you can put that bandwidth into more friendly clients. And then finally, the knowledge that your competition may now get to deal with this client is a joyful thing too, because I advise them, you might try XYZ Corporation. They're really good at this, and then they can have them. So any final thoughts for you, Scott?
Great advice. I have a couple of questions that I just want salespeople to consider when they're looking at a bad client, or they're wishing that they weren't in that situation, or they want to fire them, is to really think about, how did you find them? Was it, did they come to you, or did you come to them? And most likely, if you went to them, then you're targeting your ideal fit, versus they came to you and they wanted what you have, but they're not a good fit for your product, service, or time or attention too. Right. So think about that. What was your state of mind at the time? Were you busy or were you broke? And this is where I get into trouble, is if I'm struggling a little bit on the cash flow, I end up taking jobs that I should not take. And it never works out well. So what do I need to do? Is I always need to stay ahead of my cash flow. I need to go out and find good prospects and good fits, ideal clients that I love working with, that end up keeping the cash flow coming in. And the same thing for salespeople is. And then another one is, what are your expectations? Did you trust your intuition? And this is where you can really take the content from the book and apply it in your real life. And you can get everything that you want out of the role of a salesperson by trusting your intuition.
Perfect. Excellent. All right. So make a decision, look at your client base and make a decision. Are there some that we really aren't doing well with, and we can expand our bandwidth and do some better things with better customers? So resources that you have, Scott?
I do. I offer the Everything Disc Assessment, and I want to offer it to our listeners. If you're interested in really getting a clear understanding about your personality, your beliefs, and your behavior, and you want to have a disc assessment, then go to our show notes, and there'll be a link there that you can click on, and we can schedule some time and go through that assessment.
Excellent. And then I have a blog called Strengthening Client Relationships, kind of the opposite of firing your client. And we'll have a link to that on the show notes.
Our golden nugget today is a quote out of the book, 99% of all success in life is following up, by Kent Healy.
And I think the biggest problem is too many salespeople just don't do it.
That's so true. That's so true.
All of the information will be at our show notes. winningatselling.com. So look for it there, and including links to our sponsors. And we want to thank our sponsors, BusyWeb and AJ Imholt.
Next week, our guest is going to be Dave Meyer and Trygve Olsen from BusyWeb. No book club, so you can take the week off, but don't hide the book. Go through and review some of the past chapters.
Go out and get better, one skill at a time.
Joyful selling.